Elon Musk actually mentioned once that if he is given a small area in Nevada, he will be able to power the entire United States.
If you wanted to power the entire United States with solar panels, it would take a fairly small corner of Nevada. You only need about 100 miles by 100 miles of solar panels to power the entire United States.
Modi ji always says that Indian families can make money out of solar and it will act as a passive income.
India will be the third largest economy soon. अब बिजली का बिल भी जीरो करने के लिए हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं.
How can an Indian family make passive income with solar panels?
So if your family needs 300 units of power, you can put up a power plant that produces this 300 units of power such that your bill becomes zero.
Shreya, you mentioned that the government is extremely bullish with solar. And can you tell me कि ये जो government के schemes हैं, how is the Modi government trying to make solar viable in India? And how is that going to have a lasting impact on this payback period of 3 to 5 years?
Today, China controls 80% of the world's solar panel supply. And every country is looking at a China plus one sourcing strategy. Nobody wants to be dependent on China.
Shreya, today what is the cost difference between an Indian solar panel versus a Chinese solar panel?
So there is a significant cost difference. These hotspots can heat up so much that it can actually also lead to a fire risk. Right?
Fire risk?
And a fire can be caught up in your solar system. And innocent families who have never bought a solar for themselves, they can make the wrong sort of mistakes.
Two things that disappoint me are, number one, even though we are sitting on something more valuable than oil, we think, yeah, solar, not a big deal. And secondly, the investor community is extremely bullish on solar, but they don't speak about it much. Probably they're hiding their... You know, in the business world, they say that if you want to make a lot of money, it's not made in flashy businesses like a restaurant or a movie. It's actually made in the most boring businesses that you can think of. And the solar sector is one such sector which may appear boring, but this sector has huge gaps where you can build a business very, very quickly, especially in India. And this episode is a conversation that we had with the founder of a wonderful company called SolarSquare. And Shreya gave me a complete breakdown on how to find gaps in the solar market, what is the economics of the solar industry. As a consumer, how much investment do you need to make in solar panels, how to make your electricity bills go to zero, and even the Indo-China tensions in the solar industry. And this tension, by the way, can bring you crores of profits if you know where to tap in the solar sector. In fact, SolarSquare has tapped into one of these gaps, which has turned it into a 100 crore company. For those who don't know, SolarSquare is a residential rooftop solar company, and they've built this business over the past 9 years. So what you're about to listen to is 9 years of wisdom put in just 90 minutes. And I just hope you learn something valuable from this episode. Elon Musk actually mentioned once that if he is given a small area in Nevada, he will be able to power the entire United States. And when I had a look at that reel, I was mind blown. I was so mind blown that I actually fact checked कि उसने सच में ऐसा बोला है कि नहीं. And then I read about International Solar Alliance only to understand that we've been blessed with more sunlight than perhaps any other country on this planet, which gives us unlimited access to energy. And yet, two things that disappoint me are, number one, even though we are sitting on something more valuable than oil, we think, yeah, solar, not a big deal. And secondly, the investor community is extremely bullish on solar, but they don't speak about it much. Probably they're hiding their treasured knowledge. So today in this podcast, I want to uncover the deepest secrets of solar energy so that people understand what kind of an amazing revolution this is. And more importantly, I always say that, the government is the godfather of the market. So just like the godfather, if the godfather loves you, no matter how small you are, you will go on to become big. And if the godfather doesn't like you, no matter how big you are, you'll be down to ashes. And the godfather, as of today, absolutely loves solar. So, which is why I want to go deeper and understand. That's the agenda for today's podcast. If you can also throw light on the businesses that people could start in this sector, that would be amazing, because I know for a fact that this is going to be the next big thing, because this is literally India's opportunity at something more valuable than oil. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And I think you said that India is blessed. I think every country has a few disproportionate advantages and unfair advantages. I think solar, the amount of sunshine India gets, nobody ever thought much of it, that it'll one day become that unfair advantage. But absolutely, in the wake of the solar revolution, the amount of sunshine we get is an unfair advantage that our country will, by the way, be reaping in a big, big way.
Can you put this to numbers? Because all of us know that India gets an enormous amount of sunlight, but very few people understand what we can do with that sunlight and how is that a treasure.
So, SolarSquare is a residential solar company. So, let's look at this unfair advantage of amount of sunshine in India from the context of a homeowner. A homeowner who's putting up a rooftop solar system for his family to power his home, his air conditioner, appliances, etc. Right? Now, India gets 300 days of sun. It's one of those few countries that get that amount of sun. And even though some people in this audience may feel, "Arey, par Cherrapunji mein barish zyada hai, Bangalore mein barish zyada hai, idhar barish zyada hai." Actually, India is a tropical country where from Ladakh to Kanyakumari, from northeast to west, everywhere India gets sufficient amount of sun that any place in India produces more power than an average place elsewhere, in most other parts of the world. Now, let's look at Germany. Germany made 12% homes have solar. So, 1 in every 8 homes has already adopted solar in Germany. Germany does not get this much amount of sun. In fact, for the last 2 to 3 months of the year, towards the colder parts of winter, Germany hardly produces, the solar systems don't produce much power, right? So, let's put it in numbers. 1 kilowatt of rooftop solar in Germany will produce 1,000 units of power per year. The same 1 kilowatt of solar in India will produce roughly 1,400 units of power per year. So we get 40% more power from the same capital investment that we do in that 1 kilowatt solar, right? So that's one unfair advantage of India, that we produce just a lot more power. Similarly, we produce more power even in the US, where already 5% homes have solar, or a little bit more than even Australia, where already 35% homes have adopted solar, right? Vis-a-vis in India, despite generating so much more power, only 1% Indian homes have so far adopted solar. So India has roughly 10 crore urban independent homes. And of these urban independent homes, only 10 lakh, that is 1% homes, have adopted solar. So it is definitely a vast, untapped potential that homes in India can adopt and can save big through.
Shreya, why is our penetration so low?
Right. So I think every country has had a journey of solar revolution. The revolution in the US started about 10 years back. Revolution in Germany started about 5 years back. The German or the European solar revolution was actually accelerated with the gas sanctions that Russia put.
Okay.
So in the peak of winter, Russia put gas sanctions on countries like Germany, where all the houses were heating their homes during peak winter, where it would snow. Heating is a very, very big power guzzler, but homes were being heated through gas-based heaters. When the gas sanctions were put on Germany, people had to switch to using electricity for heating their homes. And that led to very, very high increase in electricity bills for these families. And that is when the German solar revolution really got accelerated. So much so that in 2023, after the Ukraine-Russia war, and once these gas sanctions were put, German households put as much solar in 1 year as was put in the 10 years before,
Wow.
right? So that is how the acceleration in Germany happened. In US, it was through a lot of policy support. And then, of course, sunny states like California adopted a lot of solar. Now let's look at India. Now, in India, the residential solar revolution is starting as we speak. The commercial solar revolution, Ganesh, is already quite big. So every large commercial business, public listed companies, everybody is already adopting solar, and all businessmen in India know that, if you have a factory, warehouse, school, college, you should put up solar, because commercial electricity rates are also high. And in commercial establishments, solar is of a bigger size. It'll be 50 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, even 1,000 kilowatt if, you're a Johnson & Johnson factory or you're a large automotive factory, etc. So the economics of solar was good for commercial establishments since 2014-15. So there has been no subsidy in India for commercial solar since 2013. But the economics of solar is such that if you are looking at a large, 50, 100 kilowatt power plant for your factory or school, college, any commercial establishment, you would break even. The payback period would come in 3 to 5 years, right?
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. And solar as an asset produces 25 years of free electricity. So one-time investment, you recover all your investment in 3 to 5 years, and then you have 22 to 20 years of free electricity. So the economic case was obvious. Also, businesses, corporates, they are used to of making capital investments, right? They are used to of investing in infrastructure, used to of investing in factories, etc. And also electricity is like a cost of doing business, right? So everybody wants to improve their bottom line. So they were adopting solar. It was well understood. Investing lakhs and crores into buying solar was just like investing in any other asset, right? So the consumer adoption in commercial was easier because commercial customers understand buying equipment, infrastructure, etc. Rooftop solar is nothing but a tiny power plant, right? You are literally powering your whatever your building is through solar. Now let's look at the consumer side of things, right? So the economics, as early as 2015, it would take 8 years for a home to get a payback on their solar investment because cost of solar was a little higher at that time and cost of electricity is usually lower for the residential segment, right? So the payback was 8 years. Now, if you're a middle class family, something with an 8-year payback, it's good, but you don't have that kind of a horizon, right?
Correct.
But cut to 2021, the payback for a home came under 5 years because the cost of solar between 2015 to through 2021 crashed almost 40-50%. In the same period, because of inflation, all of our electricity comes from coal. India has the dirtiest grid in the world with maximum contribution of coal. And coal, as we all know, is the most polluting source of power, right? So, and coal is not getting cheaper, right? We have only a few more decades of coal left in the world anyway. So it's only getting expensive. We are also importing a lot of coal. So it adds to our fiscal deficit. It adds to inflation. It adds to geopolitical reliance, right? You do not want to be in a situation that very much like gas was, restricted from Germany by Russia. You don't want a situation where somebody can hold you to ransom for coal, right?
Yeah.
So now in the wake of the new cost of solar and the increasing cost of coal electricity, solar is the new oil. Solar is the new coal. It is the cheapest source of power for anybody, whether you are a homeowner looking at 6 panels or you are a large corporate looking at thousands of panels on your rooftop, right? And so now the residential solar revolution is starting. So it started about 4-5 years back that the economics was good. Paybacks came under 5 years. However, customer education still takes time. Like I said, mankind has never bought a power plant for themselves, right? Your and my dad don't know what to look for when buying a source of electricity for their family. So every family is a first-time buyer. The upfront investment goes from, starts from 2 lakh rupees, could go as high as 5, 6, 7 lakh rupees, depending on how large a home you have and how many solar panels you need, right? So high upfront investment, low consumer awareness. I think those are the reasons why we are still at 1%.
Okay.
But that's going to change very, very soon.
Now, what is the payback period as of 2024?
Right. So as of 2024, the payback period for solar for a homeowner will be anywhere between 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
So states like Maharashtra, where electricity per unit costs about $12, it's more than the cost of a small Bisleri bottle for 1 unit of electricity. So state of Maharashtra has the most expensive electricity, where the payback will be as low as 3 years.
3 years.
Other states will have typically 7.5 to 9 rupees of electricity, where the payback would be between 4 to 5 years.
Shreya, you mentioned that the government is extremely bullish with solar. And can you tell me कि ये जो government के schemes हैं, how is the Modi government trying to make solar viable in India? And how is that going to have a lasting impact on this payback period of 3 to 5 years?
Right. So I think government of India has been extremely smart and thoughtful about how the residential solar, boost is being given to the industry. Like you said, when the Godfather wants something to happen, it more often than not does happen. And India is very, very big on solar. And that's not for any political reason. I think it's very India first that our government is putting solar at the forefront. Like earlier, coal and oil used to be a sign of energy independence, that you're not dependent on other countries, especially in the wake of all the geopolitical crisis that's happening. Solar is the new definition of energy independence. Like I said, solar is the new oil, right? So 1, we want energy independence. 2, we are heavily dependent on imports for oil and coal, and hence we want to reduce that. And that's why there is so much boost in India for domestic manufacturing as well, to put up solar panel manufacturing facilities in India, right? Today, China controls 80% of the world's solar panel supply. And every country is looking at a China plus one sourcing strategy. Nobody wants to be dependent on China. And hence, it's a great opportunity for India, Vietnam, Thailand. All of these countries are investing big time into solar panel manufacturing, right? So I think that's the second important thing. The third important thing is that solar is the cheapest source of electricity available. So I'm again going to delve into some numbers very, very quickly.
Yeah.
The cost of producing power from a new solar power plant with these new panel prices is just 2 to 2.5 rupees per unit. These are large power plants, large utility scale power plants. Vis-a-vis, the cost of producing power from a thermal or a coal-based power plant is actually 5 rupees.
Double.
So solar is now half of the cost of producing power from coal. Now, if you add batteries with solar, one problem with solar is that you can't control when a solar plant produces power, right? It produces power during sunshine hours, doesn't produce power during sunset hours, right? So solar plus battery, even if you were to add battery to, add resilience and add storage to these solar power plants, even that is like $4. Right? So that is still cheaper than coal-based electricity. And hence, all of the new power that is going to come, not just in India, but everywhere in the world, is going to be from solar. In the last 5 years, if you add all of the new power capacity added by the world, from all sources of power on one end, add hydrothermal, nuclear, all sources of power at one end, and take solar at the other end. More solar power was added than all other sources of power combined.
Wow.
So it's pretty much the future, and India recognizes that, and we have the unfair advantage of the sun.
Okay.
Now, the solar revolution is actually supposed to be a distributed solar revolution, right? There are centralized sources of power. You put up, like you said, 6,000 square foot of land. If you had that luxury and you could put up power there, it would still be expensive because you are producing power at one point and then you have to distribute it through thousands of kilometers, right? One of the biggest problems the whole world is grappling with, the grid, the electricity grid, which is such a complex, massive piece of infrastructure. 50 years back, it was a phenomena, right? It was one of the greatest pieces of infrastructure. Today, it is a failing, vulnerable, very, very problematic piece of infrastructure, right?
Why?
Our grid is old and aging.
Okay, first let's define the grid. तो आपका पहले एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस होता है पावर प्लांट में,
Yes.
फिर उसको ट्रांसमिट करने के लिए आपको ग्रिड की जरूरत पड़ती है.
बिल्कुल.
Right? Okay. So let's talk about the grid now. Why is the grid so problematic? In fact, I've also seen all the discoms in such a terrible state because of energy inefficiency that now, simply because of those inefficiencies, they are now struggling with thousands and thousands of crores of debt and losses.
Absolutely.
So it's a national problem. So why does India have this electricity problem due to the grid?
Yeah. So by the way, the grid is an ailing and vulnerable piece of infrastructure, not just for India, but for every developed country also. From US to Japan, it is a problem everywhere.
Okay.
50 years back, a certain infrastructure was built, which assumed a certain amount of power consumption in homes, in factories, in agricultural land, right? As civilization has evolved, as appliances have evolved, as lifestyle has evolved, as technology has played such a central role, the infrastructure that was built for a family to consume, maybe at that time it was consuming 25 units of power. Somebody built it for 200 units of power. Today, there are homes that are consuming thousands of units of power in a month. So the infrastructure itself is not sufficient for the new reality of the world. Now, most pieces of infrastructure, right, railway, that has to be upgraded sooner or later. Similarly, the grid infrastructure also actually needs an upgrade. But it is so expensive to upgrade the grid infrastructure, number one. Two, discoms everywhere in the world are loss-making. Right?
Everywhere?
Almost every discom everywhere in the world is actually loss-making.
Okay, sure, just a second.
Yeah.
Discom define कर देते
Sure,
हैं.
हाँ, ठीक है.
Simple words में.
Discom.
आप बता दो.
Sure. So discom is basically nothing but a distribution company जो आपका बिजली विभाग होता है, from where you get your electricity. So they buy power from the power plants, then they manage the distribution of power to the last mile to homes, factories, offices, etc. And they basically monetize this distribution, management, bill collection. That's their business model, right? Because the grid is a very, very ailing piece of infrastructure. As we all know, strong winds, a tree falls, your grid is the first to go down, right? Or the wires are the first to get collapsed. They're also a safety hazard, right? So it was a great piece of infrastructure 50 years back. It is very, very ailing and vulnerable today because extreme weather phenomena is more and more common. India used to have one cyclone in 10 years. We are now seeing 2 cyclones per year, right? Or heavy, extreme weather phenomena like heavy winds has become very, very common. So it's a physical piece of architecture or infrastructure, which is very, very vulnerable to extreme weather phenomena, which is vulnerable to increasing power consumption in homes. And it's not, the cables that were laid down under the ground were not designed for a family to consume the kind of power that the family is consuming today. But upgrading it is very, very expensive. And it's a massive, massive project, right? So that is why the whole world wants to reduce its reliance on the grid and move to more decentralized power sources, right? So imagine if you could produce your power and consume it at the same point. There was no distribution involved. So enter solar, right? A rooftop solar is a decentralized or a distributed energy ecosystem, right? Where every home will have its own tiny power plant and it'll power the entire home through that rooftop solar.
This is very interesting, Shreya. And like I said, because of these government subsidies, What are the biggest government subsidies that Modi government is giving out to the consumers to reduce their cost of solar?
Absolutely. So I thought we went very, very far
Yeah.
off. Your original question was, what is the government doing to accelerate the adoption of solar? So let's now discuss about what is the government doing to promote adoption of solar amongst homes. Because solar is so good for the economy and the country, and of course for our environment. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't create any pollution. India wants to promote a lot of residential solar, right? Now, the residential solar, I think it consumes about 20-25% of the country's entire power requirement comes from the residential solar segment. Now, let's look at the residential solar revolution, right? So, the first thing that India has done is made the policy climate very, very stable. Now, what does a family need to adopt solar? There is, of course, the subsidy, which is encouraging families to go solar. And India has launched the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar scheme, as part of which you can get up to 78,000 rupees in subsidy for a family to go solar. This is a direct benefit transfer. You don't have to wait for months and years to get this subsidy. India has developed a beautiful IT infrastructure. It is called the National Solar Portal, which goes by the name pmsuryaghar.gov.in. You can apply for solar on this portal. As a solar company, we make all the applications, all the government permits of solar through this National Solar Portal. And then for subsidy, we upload the consumer's bank details in the National Solar Portal. And within 30 days of a customer's solar being installed and ready, consumers get subsidy in their bank account.
78,000 rupees.
78,000 rupees in your bank account within 30 days. In fact, we are hearing that it's going to get even faster. We have customers who get this subsidy within a week's time. But this is actually a great piece of, because see, this is such a consumer to consumer revolution, right? Without the power of technology, without a solid IT infrastructure that enables homes to apply for solar, to get their permits, to get their subsidy, this can't happen, right? And India is a complex country. We have 73 discoms across our states and union territories. Every discom has its own IT system, right? And for a home, so let's actually talk of what are the permits a family needs, to go solar. So to go solar, you need you take benefit of something called net metering. Now, what is net metering? We spoke about solar producing power only during sunshine hours. So now if I have a rooftop solar on my home, what happens at sunset? How do I power my home at sunset, right? So India has, there is a policy called net metering, as part of which your solar system is connected to the grid. Now, what happens is during the sunshine hours, you will produce all the power that your home needs through the 24 hours of the day. Whatever your family is consuming instantaneously, maybe the lady of the house is at home, you're running some appliances, you take that power instantaneously from solar to your home. The excess power is pushed into the grid. Post sunset, when the kids come back, the other family members come back home, you need more power. You're running air conditioners at night, etc. The power that you sent into the grid during the day is taken back from the grid at night. This exchange of electricity is called net metering. So in a month, let's say you sent 100 units to the grid and took back 100 units, your net bill will be zero. So that is how you are powering your home throughout the day with solar. But technically, the electrons, some are consumed instantaneously, some are pushed into the grid, some are taken back from the grid. So this is where grid still plays a role, because for net metering, you actually need to use the grid. Now, if net metering was not there, Ganesh, every family would have to invest in a battery, which would add another 20-30% into your initial investment, right?
Yeah.
And so, in a way, government is saying the grid is your free battery, right? And through net metering, families are able to power their homes throughout the day. Also, it reduces the pressure on the grid, because now there are a lot of decentralized power production sources. There's not as much demand pressure. There is more augmentation of electricity into the grid through these distributed solar systems.
Shreya, Modi ji has often said, and this is the reason why the PM solar scheme became extremely popular. Modi ji always says that Indian families can make money out of solar and it will act as a passive income. How can an Indian family make passive income with solar panels?
Right. So right now, you can save money with solar. You can make your electricity bill zero with solar. So if your family needs 300 units of power, you can put up a power plant that produces this 300 units of power such that your bill becomes zero. But can you put up a power plant that produces 500 units of power, sell the excess 200 and make money with it? Actually, not today. While Modi ji has been saying it, India only encourages at the ground level, at the last mile, captive consumption, which means a power plant should be designed such that it produces sufficient power to power your family's requirement. Anything excess actually lapses, which means that excess power, so if you let's say make 500 units, but in the year, you made 500 every month, but you only consumed 300 every month. So you had excess 200 units per month. In a 12-month window, you had 2,400 excess units. You'll actually not get the right ROI for that, selling that 2,400 excess units. Technically, the grid will pay you for it, but they pay you at a very, very nominal rate of 2.5, 2.7 rupees. So that's not viable. When you put up solar for captive consumption, let's say your electricity is for 8 rupees. When you're taking the benefit of net metering, you're actually getting the benefit of full 8 rupees. That's how the payback of solar comes at 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. But if you're only getting 2 rupees, the economics won't make sense. However, there is a future in which government may encourage families to put up as much solar as their roof space allows and actually become sellers of power. So today we are producers of power and consumers of power, but we are not able to make money, extra money through solar. Countries like US, Germany, Netherlands, New Zealand, Australia, all of these countries do actually have a provision where families can sell excess power and make money with solar. So it is obvious that as the solar revolution evolves and as more and more, as a country we'll need more and more power, government will likely encourage families to use maximum rooftop space and put up maximum solar and sell whatever excess they can produce.
Got it. So when do you think that will be possible?
So India is a fast growing country. And any country that is growing fast, naturally with growth, power consumption also grows. So as a country, our power consumption is growing at 8 to 9% per year, right? There is not enough coal and infrastructure to grow at that pace. Now, 8 to 9% is the country's growth of power consumption. If you look at the middle class residential families with GDP growth, with growth of lifestyle, more electronics, EVs coming in, with massive heat waves, India is going to need so many air conditioners. We are one of the lowest penetrated country when it comes to air conditioners. Only 6-7% Indian families have air conditioners, but we are the worst impacted by heat waves. So the penetration of air conditioners is going to double in the next 4 years.
Double?
It's going to double in India. So if you look at any air conditioner company, all of their growth targets, are very, very aggressive because India is going to be a massive air conditioner growth country. And air conditioners are one of the biggest power guzzlers. Air conditioners and electric vehicles, both of which are going to be more and more coming into families and homes. With that, the middle class residential power consumption is actually going to grow at the pace of 14-15% year on year, which means every 7 years, a family's power consumption will double. Right, with growing air conditioners, EVs, lifestyle, GDP growth, etc. All of that, right? Now, as the country needs more and more power requirement, distributed solar is going to be an easy way to encourage more and more, power production in the country, right? So I do expect a future where India will allow families to make money by selling solar. That, however, is not possible today.
Got it. So you're saying that right now it's not possible. But in the future, as the GDP goes up, as the consumption per capita goes up, we will have policies in place which will then help us put up as much solar panels as possible, because of which eventually there'll be a surplus of power that every family will produce. Eventually, they'll be able to make money. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sure, out of all the business case studies that I have done, the one bottleneck that I often encounter is China. हमने वारी एनर्जीज पे केस स्टडी बनाया, China. हमने PM सूर्य घर योजना पे बनाया, चाइना. सूर्य उदय योजना देखा तो चाइना. इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस देखा तो चाइना. हर जगह पे China is the most dominating force, and they are literally controlling the entire world's solar energy by the neck. Question: let's understand the value chain of solar, and let's understand where exactly is China dominating, so that the entrepreneurs of India understand that here's where the opportunity lies. Because I know for a fact that, like I said, the Godfather is extremely bullish with solar. This is where India's oil is, and if we understand the opportunities that exist in the solar sector, there could be a large segment of entrepreneurs who can work towards it and help us achieve the milestone that we're trying to achieve. So let's break down the value chain of solar and understand where exactly is China acting as a bottleneck.
Sure. So let's look at the full value chain of solar panels, and then we look at inverters. Everything else I think you can make locally. For example, module mounting structures, SolarSquare makes its own, cables and switch gear, all of that other stuff is in India, right? So let's just first focus on the panels, which is the heart of the rooftop solar system, right? So solar panels, the value chain starts from polysilicon, which is the raw material, the base raw material. That then gets converted to ingot. Ingot gets converted to wafer to solar cell, and then the solar cell is used to assemble the whole solar panel panel, which is a 2 meter by 1 meter roughly a plate, which will typically be of 500, 600 watt peak. That's the amount of power one solar panel will produce, right? Now, China has invested big time into solar manufacturing capacity because now everybody wants to corner power sources, right? Any country which corners a power source becomes a global superpower. And China saw that solar will be the future of power consumption and production everywhere in the world. And so for the last decades, they've been investing big time into solar manufacturing capacity. So up till solar wafer, China controls more than 95% of the world's supply. When it comes down to solar panel, the final finished good, they are still controlling about 80% of the world supply.
80%?
Absolutely. But because most countries are realizing the importance of solar in energy independence, most countries have started putting either sanctions or import duties on China. India also used to import heavily from China. However, a few years ago, India introduced 40% basic custom duty on solar panels, which was not there a decade back, right? So India is supporting Indian manufacturers by applying duties on Chinese imports and also giving production-linked incentives to domestic manufacturers. So it is a chicken and egg problem, right? Once there is enough demand from Indian manufacturers, they'll invest in larger capacities. The larger capacities they invest in, the more competitive they get to Chinese prices. It's as simple as that. So the government has to basically, for the short term, support Indian manufacturers such that they invest more and more in capacity and they are able to compete with the Chinese prices. Right? And that is where custom duties have been applied in India. Europe and US have gone one step ahead and they've put sanctions on China. So Europe and US are actually importing panels not from China, but from India, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, etc. So it is also a great opportunity for India to ramp up capacity, not just for domestic solar panel requirements, but also for exports.
Got it. Shreya, today, what is the cost difference between an Indian solar panel versus a Chinese solar panel?
Absolutely. So there is a significant cost difference. If you are importing a panel from China, currently the cost of that panel will be 13 to 14 rupees per watt. Right? Sometimes it can also go even lower. For example, year-end, Chinese New Year, there is sometimes dumping of, year-end capacity. So it can also go down to a little bit lower than that. But 12 to 13 rupees, if that is the cost landed for an imported solar panel post all of duties, the made in India panels will be in the 21, 22, 23 rupees per watt range, right?
So you're telling me that after applying 40% duty, a Chinese solar panel is costing about 14 rupees. An Indian solar panel without duty is costing 21 to 22 rupees.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, the Chinese prices have actually very little to do with cost of production. China has incentivized the manufacturing there so heavily, and they are trying to, and by the way, there's another sort of massive reason here. So China invested in 1,000 gigawatts of solar panel manufacturing capacity. So India comparatively has only 50 to 80 gigawatts of solar panel manufacturing. Now, compared to 1,000 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity, can you guess the world's demand for solar panels? It's 500 gigawatts. So it's actually half. China has more capacity than the world's demand combined, right?
World's demand for solar?
For solar panel, yes. So China has put up more capacity. So there is currently a situation of overcapacity where a lot of small Chinese manufacturers are actually dying. And the large ones are basically just waiting it out, waiting their time for the other small ones to die. And so currently the prices have completely crashed from China. So these prices that we see today from imported solar panels, they're actually not sustainable. They're actually not...
For the Chinese?
Not sustainable even for the Chinese, right? Okay. So they are actually artificially deflated prices for imported solar panels. And it is only a short-term phenomena. I expect the prices to go back up as, the manufacturing capacities in China come more in line with the world's demand, right? And China is further strained out because Europe and US have put sanctions on imports from China, right? So all the more the capacity that they have, they're not able to sell because the world's largest buyers, which is countries like Germany and US, are no longer buying from China.
Plus now there is Trump, who hates China.
Who hates China.
So today, if the cost of solar panels is 24 rupees in India, when can
22.
Okay, 22 rupees in India. When can we expect it to go down to 12, 13?
Right.
Is it even possible?
Right. So I think 12 and 13, like I said, is artificial prices. That's primarily because of more supply, less demand and overcapacity in China, plus the trade sanctions and lots of other phenomena. A sustainable price is one that can justify the cost of manufacturing and the fair profit margins that any industry has to make. And hence, I believe there is, a time where, Indian panel prices will also come down a little bit, maybe 18 rupees, 19 rupees, and I think they'll come closer and closer to China. The gap, like I said, Indian module world manufacturing capacity is at 50 to 80 gigawatts. It's expected to cross 100 gigawatts in the coming 2 years, but it is still far, far away from the 1,000 gigawatt capacity that China has.
Got it. Do you think there'll be a time when India will get free electricity due to solar energy?
Right. So, are you saying that is there a future where every household in India is powered by rooftop solar?
Yeah.
I think it's a consumer adoption problem, right? And there are certain hurdles to that adoption, right? I think slowly, as consumer awareness is increasing from 1% of, like I said, 10 crore urban independent homes in India, out of that 10 lakh have adopted solar. Is there a future where 3, 4, 5 crores out of these 10 crore homes will have solar? Absolutely. I believe in a future where solar will be ubiquitous. Every home, very much like it has a television, colored television and a refrigerator, will also have rooftop solar. However, the adoption will take a few years, and the schemes like Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Yojana are definitely helping aid and accelerate that adoption. I'll give one statistics which is very, very interesting. So let's talk about solar adoption, right? Like I said, 10 lakh homes in India have solar. The first 1 lakh homes to go solar took about 5 years, and that milestone India hit around 2019. And then, COVID hit, and of course, there were, tough years in between. But even as early as last year, it took 9 months for 1 lakh homes to go solar. But today, it is taking as little as 50 to 60 days for 1 lakh homes to go solar. So in less than 2 months now, 1 lakh homes is going solar. And I'm very confident that next year, in less than 30 days, 1 lakh homes will be going solar. And by 2026-27, I'm further confident that in about a week or two, 1 lakh homes will be going solar. So
Wow.
India's solar revolution is happening very, very fast. As of today, we have 10 lakh homes powered by solar. Some of the more penetrated countries like the US have about 50 lakh homes powered by solar, which was a milestone US hit just last quarter. And India is talking about 1 crore homes to be powered by solar in just 3 years.
3 years.
In just 3 years. That's the announcement that our Prime Minister has made, that under the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Yojana, with this 78,000 rupees subsidy, the target for India is for 1 crore homes to adopt solar in 3 years. Even if that happens in 4 to 5 years, I think it's a phenomenal feat. There is no other country in the world other than China which has crossed the 50 lakh home solarized milestone, right? So from 10 lakh homes, I think very quickly India will cross 50 lakhs and touch the 1 crore homes milestone. And with that, India will be one of the most solar penetrated countries when it comes to homes in the world.
That is incredible, yaar. That is incredible. Now tell me, Shreya, I want to jump into 2 subjects right now. One is the business opportunity in the solar space. And I want you to break down the value chain of solar so that we can understand where does the opportunity lie. Because if the TAM is increasing with such a rapid pace, it means that there is a tremendous opportunity. And we would need not 1 but 10 SolarSquare type companies to be able to service this demand. The second thing that I want to delve deeper into is from the customer standpoint, that if I have to install solar panels, in fact, my uncle recently installed a solar panel in the US and he was extremely skeptical. He made God knows how many Excels, did so many analysis just to get hold of solar. And can you imagine in the US, for an educated American citizen, if it is a matter of so much skepticism, in India, obviously, customers will have a lot of skepticism. So let's first look at the business opportunity, because from business opportunity, if we go to skepticism, we can also understand from the customer standpoint, what are the problems that these businesses have to solve.
Sure.
So let's start with the business opportunity. When it comes to the solar industry, how many categories of business can exist while the customer goes from thinking about a solar panel to setting up the solar panel to maintaining the solar panel and then changing the solar panel?
Right. Absolutely. So, the simple answer lies in the value chain. First, there are the original equipment manufacturers. There are companies who manufacture panels, inverters, cables, switchgear, etc. Like I said, a rooftop solar system, let's go actually from the end customer. The end customer requires a rooftop solar system that could power his home. Like I said, a well-designed, well-maintained solar system produces free electricity for 25 years, right? Now, this has more than 70 components. So, the first business in the value chain is manufacturing, right? Which, of course, requires capital investment, which requires expertise, manufacturing, etc. And that is where all the large, conglomerates of India are also in. So Adani manufactures panels, Tata manufactures panels, Vari manufactures panels, etc., etc. Then come the inverters. Inverters are still mostly imported from China. A few brands in India are tinkering with it, but mostly it's white labeled. But there are brands which basically sell inverters in India that are manufactured ultimately in China, but just white labeled in India, right? So a lot of inverters, even in residential solar, are directly directly, for example, SolarSquare directly works with Chinese manufacturers and we import our inverters from China, right?
Okay, just a second over here. Does the government provide incentives for Make in India inverters?
No.
No.
Not.
So you have no other choice but to import from China because you get the cheapest inverters from there.
Yeah. Wherever you get the best product and the best price, you basically have the freedom to procure from there.
Okay,
But
got
for
it.
panels, there is a protectionist policy where to get a subsidy, you have to use a made in India panel. Now, let's look at the next part of the value chain, right? Now, a consumer is not buying these panels, inverters, and putting his own solar system. They need what is called a solar installer in between. A company who would help a family understand how much solar do they need, 3 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt, 10 kilowatts, then design it, then procure all the different components from the right manufacturers, choose the right technology, choose the right quality of product, procure it at the right price, and then install it at their home, right? So then comes the design, procurement, design, installation, and then the after sales. Now, one thing that the installers in India do incorrectly is they're all in the business of install and forget. Solar lagao, bhul jao. But that is not how solar operates. We've been doing rooftop solar for almost 10 years now. And solar, like any other product category, in fact, a lot more than other product categories, requires a lot of maintenance. Because your rooftop solar system is installed on your roof, it's exposed to external weather conditions, right? And India is a very dusty country. We have a lot of construction dust. We are a developing country. Roads are getting constructed. Homes are getting constructed. Plus, the soil quality of India is that it's very hard and sticky dust. Now, when that settles on the solar panels, the sunlight cannot reach the panels. And so simply the dust and, bird droppings and all other environmental factors cause the solar power production to go down. Now, an innocent family buys solar thinking that they'll break even in 4 years, 5 years. But because of dust and lack of maintenance of solar post installation, the power production goes down by as much as 30% in just 6 months.
In just 6 months?
In just 6 months.
And does it go further down?
It keeps going down from there on if the maintenance is not done. Hence, post-installation, so SolarSquare is in the business of install and operate. So what we do is that we tell our customers that you're not just buying solar from SolarSquare, you're actually buying power savings from SolarSquare. So we guarantee power production and savings to the customer for 5 years. In these 5 years, we conduct a regular monthly maintenance of the customer's solar, and we have built the technology stack to real-time monitor and manage all the solar systems that we have installed across India.
Shreya, can you go deeper into this savings guarantee thing and help me understand what exactly do you provide to the customers?
Sure. So SolarSquare has been doing rooftop solar for the last 10 years. And in these 10 years, solar as an asset has a 25-year life. So the asset class itself requires designing, durability, and, performance assurance for 2 decades, right? So it requires a lot of, understanding of the technology and how to ensure maximum performance from it. So one learning that we had in the last 10 years is that because India is a dusty country and because there is this sticky dust that, that our Indian soil has, performance of solar can go down by as high as 30% in just 6 months. And when we entered residential solar about 5 years back, we learned that consumers were being fooled left, right, and center and being sold solar banks saying, lagao aur bhul jao, install and forget, right? Which is far from the reality, right? Without maintenance, your solar system performance will come down because dust and bird droppings deposit on it. With that, you have other issues that start coming up. So when panels have dust on top of it, they start producing heat instead of electricity.
Okay.
And that heat leads to the panels burning from inside. So the panels start developing something that is called hotspots. So one, your performance has gone down. Your panel has developed hotspots, which means now even if you clean it, it's permanently damaged because, for 6-7 months, whatever, you did not maintain it properly. The hotspots led to damaging the panel. Now, when your production will go down, you'll try to claim a warranty. You'll realize that your warranty is also rejected because all solar panel warranties in India are actually subject to the installer maintaining the solar. So without maintenance, even your warranties get rejected, right? Because nobody can, cover you against stuff like a hotspot and your panels burning from within. The worst part is that over a period of time, these hotspots can heat up so much that it can actually also lead to a fire risk, right?
Fire risk.
And a fire can be caught up in your solar system. It won't happen on day 1 or in 6 months, but it can happen in 3 to 4 years. So like I said, a rooftop solar is a 1000-volt DC system, and innocent families who have never bought a solar for themselves, who don't understand this technology, who don't understand the risks of lack of maintenance and the benefit of a well-designed, high-quality, safe system which is maintained, they can make the wrong sort of mistakes. So while this solar revolution and all is great, I think what is very, very important is awareness among customers about quality, safety, and performance. So we are in the business of solar with savings guarantee, which means we are the only company in India from where if you buy solar, you get a 5-year performance guarantee. you can think of it a little bit like हम गाड़ी नहीं guaranteed mileage बेच रहे हैं, हम solar नहीं, हम guaranteed savings बेच रहे हैं. So then it is my responsibility to take care of everything, the quality of components, the design, the installation, and the maintenance for 5 years after that, to ensure that the customer is getting his maximum savings and power production. Under savings guarantee, if your solar produces less power, so let's say if it produces, we told you will make 5,000 units, but you only made 4,500 units, we will pay you back for the balance 500 units.
Okay.
So effectively, this becomes like a solar fixed deposit, wherein the customer is investing in solar, and for the next 5 years, he is guaranteed the savings. Any deficit in production, we will compensate. Along with that, we also guarantee zero repair replacement cost.
What is that?
So what that means is that you invest one time in solar and you think it'll make you free power for 20-25 years. But what if it breaks down? What if it has repair expenses? What if your warranties get rejected, right? And it is a very, very common reality in India that because of lack of maintenance and cheap solar that's poorly designed, because of all of those reasons, people start getting repair expenses. So, I'd like to quote a very, very important research that was done by a reputed think tank in India called CEEW. Now, when they had conducted a research of quality and state of residential solar installations in India, they found out that 50% homeowners were generating 30% lesser power, which means 1 in 2 homes had bought in solar but were realizing much lesser savings. And a large part of that, 80% of homes were found to have no maintenance on solar. Some 20% homes were found to have solar installed in shadows, right? And there were similarly several issues like stale trail, hotspot, quality issues, lack of maintenance, etc., right? So while the solar revolution is great and everybody thinks that they can save from solar, it's very important to understand what is sahi solar. Solar तो सही है, पर सही solar क्या है? What is the solar that will give you maximum savings and maximum return? And only then can the India solar revolution be successful, right? Because if a lot of people end up buying, a lot of products are great, but when people end up buying wrong things or wrong business practices or lack of consumer awareness leads to people not realizing the benefit of solar, the entire industry and the entire solar revolution takes a backseat, right?
Got it.
So
today, if you're installing 1 lakh solar panels per 60 days, how many solar panels do you install out of these 1 lakh solar panels?
Sure. So 1 lakh, not solar panels, but solar systems. So
Solar
1 lakh
systems.
homes.
Okay, 1
in
lakh
India.
homes are
so
adopting
1 lakh,
solar
so
panels.
almost 50,000 homes are going solar every month currently in India. SolarSquare is operating in just 15 cities of India. And with this, we are the number 1 residential solar brand in the country. So even on India's national solar portal, we've been the number 1 brand since 2022.
Okay.
Currently, we are doing about 1,000 homes a month in India that are going solar with SolarSquare in just these 15 cities that we operate in.
Which means there is room for 49,000 homes every single month.
Yeah.
Which means India needs 50 SolarSquare type companies with the existing demand to be able to service these customers.
Absolutely. So India has more than 5,000 small and big mom and pop residential solar installers registered on India's national solar portal. And like I said, there is a varying degree of professionalism in different solar installers that are there in India. So India's target was to by now reach 2 lakh homes a month. We are still at about 50-60,000 homes a month. So India is still far behind, the pace at which we want adoption to happen in India. So actually there is a massive opportunity of, both for consumers to become aware, but for also solar companies like SolarSquare are ramping up our operational capacity. So we are growing every month. We are adding more sales guys, we are adding more installers, we are adding more operations team members, after sales crews, etc. I think the pace of this revolution is of course important. For the solar revolution to be successful, we don't just have to measure how many homes installed solar or how many megawatts and gigawatts of solar got installed, but actually also track how much power is being produced. Are they actually generating the electricity and helping with both electricity bills of consumers and also with climate change, right? Because if we install solar and, like that research done by CEW, if 50% homes are producing lesser power, it basically doesn't help the whole sort of solar revolution to actually realize its true potential.
Makes sense. You know what, Shreya? My uncle would have loved a SolarSquare type company in the US because he did all of it by himself. And even now he's extremely worried about maintenance. And the one skepticism that I had, I said, why are you thinking so much about installing solar? And that's when he told me that the area that he lives in, again, that area witnesses weather conditions which are not so favorable. their labor costs are extremely high. So if he has to call somebody to maintain the panel, it becomes extremely difficult. They don't have skin in the game. For example, if you have this strategy whereby you give out a power savings guarantee, what happens is that you take accountability of maintaining the solar panel, but in the US, he hasn't found a company that can do it. So this end-to-end solution just gives the customer so much of free mind space to be able to do better things than just think about their solar panel. And when it starts raining also, until you get hold of a asset which is lying outside, you're not worried about it. But the moment you get it and then there is rain, the first thing that comes to your mind is my solar panel okay? This happened to my house when we got a dish.
Yeah.
My father was extremely skeptical. The moment he got hold of a dish, he was like, it's raining. What's happening to the dish? I'm like, Dad, we are literally the late adopters of dish. हमसे 10 साल पहले लोगों ने कर लिया, हमने बहुत लेट किया है, तो आप रहने दो, टेंशन मत लो. But that also helped me understand how do the customers look at a very valuable asset, right? Because if they're investing 2 to 4 lakh rupees, that can get you a car today. So 2 to 4 lakh rupees अगर आप इन्वेस्ट करो और आपको ये स्केप्टिज्म है, तो ये अगर सॉल्व हो पा रहा है तो बहुत ही बड़ी बात है. और ये इंस्टॉल एंड फॉरगेट, इट इज सच अ इंट्यूटिव थिंग टू डू. दैट इज यू इंस्टॉल सोलर पैनल एंड देन यू फॉरगेट, बट देन that forget is what costs you so much money.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. So Shreya, just to summarize your answer over here, we've got 3 market opportunities. One is solar manufacturing. The other is in the inverter space. Right now, we are not able to compete with Chinese inverters. But if Indian companies could bring down the price, that'll be great. And then we have a huge market opportunity with install and forget, where you are able to serve about 1,000 customers, 1,000 homes per month. But India is adding 50,000 homes to the solar sector, which means 49,000 का white space है. उसके साथ साथ, this is now going to double to 2 lakh very, very soon. And it is going to double to 1 lakh and then double again to 2 lakhs, which means there's a huge market opportunity that people can tap into. Do you also do this for housing societies? How practical are solar panels for housing societies? For example, I live in a building which is more than 60 floors. So is it practical to have a solar panel for a building of that size?
Right. So the residential solar revolution is pretty inclusive. So both homes and housing societies, both are adopting solar at a rapid pace. There is subsidy also for housing societies, by the way, which is much higher. It is actually a subsidy of 18,000 rupees per kilowatt that goes all the way up to 500 kilowatt, which means for a housing society, they can put up solar solutions on their roof and they can get subsidy up to 90 lakhs. It is incredible the kind of financial support that is available. Now, housing societies use their rooftop to put up solar. Because the roof is a shared real estate, the rooftop solar is for common area amenities. So if there are 50 apartments in a society, the rooftop solar system will offset their common area bills, which is lift, pump, street light. You could have a gym in your building. So all of those common area electricity expenses can be offset through rooftop solar. Interestingly, 40 to 50% of a society's monthly expense is actually electricity.
Okay.
Right? Especially in the state of Maharashtra, where, Bombay and Pune both have a lot of housing societies. Then Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, all our metro cities are mostly in vertical living. The tariffs are very high. So in Bombay, your electricity tariff in a housing society could be like 12, 13 rupees. In Pune, it could be 15 to 20 rupees, depending on how much power you consume per unit. Right? Similarly, in other cities also, like the housing societies pay commercial tariffs, which is quite high. And so the economics and break even so the payback period for a housing society in a Maharashtra would be like 2 years.
2 years.
So it's insane, right? 25 years of free electricity and a payback of 2 years. And with the subsidy, even in like a Bangalore and Delhi, the paybacks are all less than 5 years. So it's actually very lucrative for housing societies to go solar. And interestingly, SolarSquare is number 1 in India, also in the housing society segment.
Oh, wow.
So we have now close to 200 housing societies that we have powered with solar. And we have close to 18,000 homes that we have powered with solar. So in both of these categories, we're actually number 1.
Is it practical to think that with solar panels on the terrace, can it power the entire building, like including the homes?
Yes. So it can practically. However, the policies around it are not yet, structured. So what you need, if let's say you have 50 homes in a society, and if every home wanted to be powered by solar, technically you can, but you need an NOC and every home to participate in this solar thing, right? Usually what happens is out of 50 homes, 2 flats are unoccupied, 4 people don't want to be a part of it. Then you have to get an NOC from everybody. So it becomes like this democratic and difficult decision-making process, right? Versus if you put up solar for common area amenities, everybody is saving equally, right? And so it's in everybody's interest. Usually the funds for solar will come through the housing society's corpus. So usually they collect, monthly maintenance, and they do have certain corpus. So old societies will have crores and crores of corpus, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of societies are basically, rather than putting it in a fixed deposit, they're actually putting it in solar and realizing 4 to 5 times higher return on investment than a fixed deposit, right?
Makes sense.
So that's how the housing societies are adopting solar.
Got it. Shreya, let's break down the economics of installing a solar panel for an average Indian household. Okay, how much does it cost to install a solar panel in India?
So let's look at this math for a family which consumes, let's say, about 500 units of power in a month. We're taking a simple example. Most common tariff in India is about 8 rupees, right? If you are living in Maharashtra, your tariff could be 12, 13, 14 rupees. If you're living in Uttar Pradesh, your tariff could be 7.5 rupees. But we're taking a simple example, 8 rupees, which is the most common tariff. So 500 units of power if your family consumes in a month, your power cost will be 4,000 rupees. This is your variable power cost. Over and above this, you will have some basic meter rental charges in your bill as well, which will be fixed charges. They would be something to the tune of 200 to 300 rupees on top of it, right? Now, if you were to put up a solar system of 4 kilowatt, a 4 kilowatt system will roughly give you 450 to 500 units of power in a month, right? So for simplicity's sake, we'll take 500 units of power in a month. Now, a 4 kilowatt system typically requires 8 panels, right? Each panel is, give or take, the latest technology of panels are 540 watt peak. So 0.54 kilowatts, right? So 8 panels will effectively give you 4.32 kilowatts, right? Now this 4.32 kilowatt solar system will produce enough power to make your 4,000 rupee energy charge zero. What you will pay is just the 200 to 300 rupees rental charge, which you are, the meter rental charge, which you are still paying. So a 4.32 kilowatt system over a year will save you broadly 48 to 50,000 rupees, right? For simplicity's sake, we'll take 50,000 rupees. Right? Now let's look at the cost of the solar system. The cost of the solar system will largely vary. A lot of people think this is like aloo bhaji, right? Like, oh, how much rupees per kilowatt? Without truly understanding what is the quality, safety, service of solar, right? Like we understood, in a good quality solar, you have to invest in storm-proof, cyclone-proof module mounts. You have to invest in after-sale service. You have to ensure that the quality of components is good. One of the common areas where consumers are actually being cheated is that second-hand panels are also being installed, because consumers are also not able to recognize, these panels, are they brand new or are they second-hand, right? So you have to be wary of a lot of those things that can lead you to less sort of savings from solar. So one thing when you look at solar that we advise customers, don't think of minimizing the cost. Think of maximizing your return on investment, right? So invest in a good quality solar with after sales so that you have peace of mind and you are maximizing your return on investment, right? Cheap solar can actually be very expensive. And that's something we try to educate customers, most importantly from a family safety perspective, right? So if you were to buy a 4.32 kilowatt system from SolarSquare for your home, the cost will be between 2.9 to 3.1 lakh rupees, right? This is for the highest quality, safest solar system with a 5-year after sales and savings guarantee as well. Which means if any power production is lesser because of any reason, we will pay you back for it at 8 rupees per unit. So let's say we told you that we'll make you 500 units per month. In a year, it becomes 6,000 units. Let's say I only produced 5,500 units for you. We will pay you back for the balance 500 units, right? So this way, it becomes, with the SolarSquare savings guarantee, it becomes like a fixed deposit. Your initial investment is fixed and your savings is fixed. And you have a guarantee of zero repair replacement expenses as well. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind to the consumers. Like I said, you can buy solar at a lot of prices, very much like a car, whether you're buying a diesel car or a petrol car, different price points depending on different, hatchback, sedan, etc. Similarly, in solar also, you will hear a lot of prices. So before deciding the price, first understand what do you want in solar system, right? Like for example, if safety is paramount to you, if peace of mind and savings is paramount to you, make your decision accordingly. So that's one of the biggest advice I always have for consumers, because cheap solar can be very, very expensive.
Got it.
Right? So now let's look at the economics. So on this investment, you'll get a 78,000 rupee subsidy from Government of India. So your net investment becomes actually 2.1 to 2.3 lakh rupees, right? On this investment, like I said, you'll save roughly 50,000 rupees per year, right? And so your solar payback is a little over 4 years, right? And so that is the economics of solar. Like I said, if let's say you were living in Maharashtra, at the same 500 units of power that you produce, you'll be saving at 12 rupees per unit, right? So instead of 4,000 a month, you'll be saving 6,000 a month, right? So you'll be saving 72,000 in a year. And hence in Maharashtra, the payback will be less than 4 years, right? So your payback can vary depending on your power tariff.
Got it. And how much do I have to pay SolarSquare per year for maintenance?
Right. So in this initial investment, the 5-year maintenance and savings guarantee is already included. So after this, you actually don't pay anything.
So if I invest 2.9 to 31 lakh rupees minus, let's say, the 80,000 rupees of subsidy, 78,000 rupees to be precise. So if I invest 2.1 to 2.3 lakh rupees in my solar panel, for the next 5 years, I do not have to worry about my efficiency. SolarSquare will take care of it,
Absolutely.
the maintenance and everything. So under this, what all does SolarSquare do to make sure that my solar panels are efficient?
Right. So like I said, SolarSquare is in just 15 cities and we have almost 1,000 customers per city. In few cities, more than 1,000 customers. So we have a very deep after-sales network. So the one thing, like I said, solar requires regular maintenance, very much like your car requires servicing, air conditioner requires servicing. Rooftop solar systems also require regular maintenance. So the first thing that we do is a monthly power boost service. Power boost service is basically where a SolarSquare technician would come to your home. They would do a complete system health check, including deep cleaning of the panels. Now, cleaning of the panels is very, very tricky business. A lot of people think hum pani maar lenge, but actually solar panels are made of glass on the top. And like I said, Indian dust is very hard and sticky. So you have to use a certain pH of water, a certain soft bristle brush, and a trained technician to make sure that you're cleaning the panels uniformly. One of the common things that we have seen is panel pe pani maar diya, all the dust settles at the bottom, right? When the dust settles at the bottom, that is exactly where the hotspots get created. And most solar panels that have those dark black burnt spots, as you can see in this image, most of these are at the corners of the solar panels because of improper and uneven cleaning of the surface, right? So this is a professional deep cleaning that we do. And under this, it is our responsibility that nothing happens to your warranty as well. To give you the peak performance, but while giving it, we don't have to, we have to make sure that the panel is not damaged as well, right?
Got it.
And then we have electrical health checks, mechanical health checks. Our WindPro mount is nut bolted. We don't do welding in our WindPro mount, the mounting structures. So because of thermal expansion, contraction, we have to keep checking the nut bolts as well to make sure that the safety, the mechanical safety of the structure is actually not impacted. So it's a complete health check, like I said, and it's a power boost service. So that's one thing that we do. The other thing that we do is we take care of all your warranty claims. So with SolarSquare, even if the manufacturer rejects your warranty, we cover you for it. So it is a door-to-door warranty, which means that let's say if something happened to your panel and the manufacturer said it's not my fault, it's a hotspot or because of whatever reason. I mean, a lot of warranties are rejected in India in residential solar. Mostly the blame goes on the installer and the manufacturer and installer keep fighting. The end customer never gets their warranty. So SolarSquare also covers the customer for that, which means if the manufacturer rejects the warranty, we'll actually pay from our pocket and cover you for it. So that's the other thing that we do. The third thing is real-time monitoring, Ganesh. So we are the largest operators of distributed solar assets in India by volume. Each of our solar systems that we have powered, we have real-time data on how much power is being produced. And every day we are monitoring our entire portfolio of homes that are powered and housing societies that are powered by SolarSquare. So with this data, we have predictive, analytics on which home is performing well, where is the performance going down. Like you said, power production, like I said, goes down by, can go down because of dust and bird dropping. We also monitor the rate of, power production issues.
You have an idea about all the solar panels?
Yes. So we have an idea of every single one solar panel that is installed across India by SolarSquare, and we are monitoring their power production. So if there is, for example, I installed solar on your home and your neighbor started a construction that led to a lot of dust in your area, right? For 2-3 months, there was a lot more dust. We'll have data that your panel is underperforming more than usual, and we'll do an extra power boost visit for your home.
What are you saying? So this is not routine. Like you will know when the solar panel is not performing and then you will come and service it.
Absolutely.
That is incredible. I wish Urban Clap could do that for my house.
So exactly. So we have real-time data of every home, and with that we are able to get smarter about how we operate and maintain this asset, right? Because I have given you and all our customers a guarantee, right? So I need to know about performance at all times, and I need to take corrective action whenever there's a problem.
Shreya, this business model that you are in, I mean, it is extremely customer friendly, but I'm just trying to understand, like, what exactly is the margin that you make out of it? If I am paying 2.3 lakh rupees, a large chunk of it goes into the solar panel. Then there is the installation of the solar panel, and then you have very less margin for maintenance and the installation both, right? So my question is, out of this 2.3 lakh rupees, what's your gross margin like?
Right, absolutely. So I think the whole magic of maintenance only works with a large customer density, Ganesh, right? So not all businesses operate, can make the same margin at every volume level, right? If you look at quick commerce, right, the more customers there are, the more dark stores there are, the more margin there is. Very similar to this, because our business is so heavily about after sales, customer density really matters. That is why, despite being the number one company of India, we're only in 15 cities, because our idea is to go super deep in those cities. Cities like Pune, we have close to 30% market share. Bangalore, we have 25% market share. Hyderabad, we have 15% market share. So our idea is to have, go really deep so that we're able to service our customers at a low cost while still making margin, right? So that's one of the important parts of, making margin in this business.
So, Shreya, at the unit economics level, let's say you stop investing in growth today. Out of these 2.3 lakh rupees, what's your gross margin like?
Right. So our gross margin is between 30 and 40%, depending on, different order sizes, right? Like the bigger it gets, the lower the gross margin, but the bigger the project sizes. But between the 30 to 40% range is where our gross margins are. Below that, we have cost of operations, cost of designers who design the solar system, the government permits that we have, and then installation charges. We actually have to do the installation at the customer's home, then the after sales charges and guarantees and all that we give to the customers. So on a unit level, our typical order size is between, typically 4 kilowatt is our average size. So roughly 2.7 lakh rupees is where our typical, order size, average order size is. Some people buy 2, some 3, some 4 kilowatt, some 10 kilowatt also. But 2.7 lakhs is where our average order size is. And on a per order level, we make close to 10% as our margin.
Net margin.
As our net margin. Net of all expenses, including sales, marketing, material, everything.
Got it. So net margin is 10% and gross margin is close to 30 to 40%. Got it. So, Shreya, when it comes to this 10% margin, it's an extremely dicey margin space to be in, right? Because you are giving so much to the customers, and it's so much on foresight that in the next 5 years, based on your calculation, customers will experience only that much trouble that you will be able to service them viably. Right? And 5 years is a very long time. Like, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And in fact, 5 years back, we had COVID. So we can imagine what's going to happen. And like you mentioned, that cyclones are getting more and more frequent. So in the next 5 to 10 years, in just the 2 cycles that we're about to witness a lot of chaos. So my question is, this 10% margin, could it go down further in case of an extreme scenario?
Right. So I think, Ganesh, it is very important to look at businesses, holistically, right? So I think when it comes to SolarSquare, we are building a brand in an unorganized market, right? Now, as we said, 50,000 homes are going solar, then 1 lakh homes will go solar, then 2 lakh homes will go solar. Everybody, a lot of unorganized players will come in thinking this is a party. Oh, there is so much demand to be had, right? But unless you have a unique value proposition, and there is this word called, can you charge your fair margin, right? If you do not have a unique proposition to the customer, it is a race to the bottom, because you will always be in the fight to say, can I do this cheaper, right?
Correct.
So anybody who's in the business of saying, can I sell this cheaper, is on a race to the bottom, right? And so somebody will always be there who'll say, I'll do it at a lower margin, right? Somebody will always, be an entrepreneur for 2 to 3 years, be on a suicide mission, and, keep making it cheaper without realizing that he's making losses, right? So there is a lot of that race to the bottom if you're in the business of selling cheaper. We are not in that business. What we know is very, very firmly what we stand for and what value we deliver to the customer.
Shreya, when it comes to your business, it's very difficult to market your business, because when it comes to solar, because SolarSquare is not yet such a big brand कि लोग solar मतलब SolarSquare समझे. And this is such a, I wouldn't call trust deficit. It is trust deficit, but people are not aware of the trust deficit that exists. And they will only come to know after a repercussion. It's just like insurance. जब आप insurance लेते हो, चाहे आप ICICI से लो या HDFC से लो, starting में तो सब कुछ बढ़िया लगता है, but then only after it costs you money that you understand that you've bought the wrong insurance. And by that time, it's already too late. So the realization of the customer requires one cycle of problem, right? So before that happens, how do you educate a customer about the problems of solar, put up your proposition, and then get them to spend 2 to 4 lakh rupees with you? And by the way, do you have Bollywood actors endorsing your brand?
Not at all.
Okay. So how do you get customers to trust you for a decision that's worth 2 to 4 lakh rupees without Bollywood actors endorsing you?
Right. And I think the biggest learning there we had, Ganesh, and this is my second startup, so I have a fair amount of experience in marketing and brand building. The one thing we realized is that when you are building for a high ticket size category with such a long life, right? We're talking of 25 years of product life. What we realized was that there is no marketing better than customer service. And this is very counterintuitive, right? We believe that our good customer service is actually the best form of marketing, because what allows us to grow quite nicely without burning a lot of money is actually the fact that when one customer goes solar, he recommends his friends and family. So currently, on average, 10 crores of revenue a month walks up to us every month because it's purely referrals. So referrals is close to 35% of
35%?
Yes, it is 35% of our monthly sales. And that, of course, we give a 5,000 rupee referral bonus. But when it comes to a high trust purchase category, you can give any amount of referral bonus. People will not recommend till they are truly happy. The referral bonus is a little bit of a nudge on top of it, right? So we've tried to build a really nice referral program where our customers are referring their friends and family and office members and relatives, etc., to go solar. So 35% of our revenue comes via that. About 50-55% comes through performance marketing. So we do Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, etc. And of course, there also we depend heavily on educational marketing, Ganesh. What we've realized is that because it's a high ticket size category, and like I said, everybody is a first time buyer. Nobody really knows what to look for when going solar. So people do a fair amount of research, right? And so educational marketing works really well. So one of the things that we've done amongst, we of course do YouTube videos and educational content. We've also published a handbook for going solar. It's a homeowner's guide to going solar. What we also do is our monthly webinars for anybody and everybody. They are literally Janhit mein jari educational webinars where we talk about the benefits of solar, the economics, the payback, what is sahi solar, what is good solar versus bad solar, what is the importance of maintenance. And we basically create education so that we can have a generation of solar educated adults who understand the benefits and who are taking good decisions and who are taking safe decisions for their family when they're going solar. So that has also led to a lot of trust building. It invariably happens that a lot of people who attend these webinars, they end up buying from SolarSquare when they understand the kind of thoughtfulness and safety standards that we put behind our offering to customers. So educational marketing has been, another important aspect of customer awareness. We haven't hired celebrities yet, but like you said, solar matlab SolarSquare, that's obviously the dream. We believe we are the category, we are the number one residential solar brand in India, and we could become the category defining brand in this industry as well. And for that, at some point, maybe we will also hire a celebrity or a cricketer. But till then, I believe the most potent and powerful form of marketing is actually word of mouth. Because, in high trust categories, no matter how much marketing you do and no matter how many celebrities you hire, if Sharma ji is not recommending to Mehta ji, right, or if Sharma ji is telling Mehta ji this company is not good, no amount of celebrity marketing can help you. So customer service is honestly the biggest form of marketing.
That is incredible, Shreya. One last question. I know that you can figure out that you've got great customers through referrals. But how do you figure out bad customers, as in unhappy customers? Do they just call you?
Right. So we do have a call center and customer service, that team that's always on the lookout. Like I said, because we are monitoring the customer's rooftop solar performance, we actually try to minimize the number of unhappy customers by taking corrective action. So even before our customer will realize uska bijli kam ban raha hai, before that our systems and technology platforms create an alert and our after sales crew will reach the customer's home and figure out what is happening, right? But otherwise also, definitely in every business, there will be some customers who will be unhappy. So of course, we do have a customer service team, call center team. We have field after sales technicians who take care of any issues on the ground. Of course, government permits used to be a big issue in the early days, and we didn't touch upon that. But as part of the PM Surya Ghar scheme, I think one of the most phenomenal things that India has done is that we are actually making it faster, online and paperless for a family to switch to solar. So literally 3 years back, Ganesh, for a family to go solar in India, we would apply for permits. We would have to take signatures on a paper, take it to the local Bijli Vibhag, then they would give it to the next department. It could take as much as 60 days to 90 days for a family from start to finish to go solar, right? And there are permits before you go solar, and then there is like an inspection by the local discom. So that would take, a month again. Now, Government of India wants to make it so fast and online and paperless for families to switch to solar, to the extent that we can get a lot of these permits in literally 1 day.
1 day?
Can you imagine? In 1 day. So start to finish, of course, we get the permit, then we do the installation, then there's an inspection by the local discom, after which your subsidy comes in your bank account. Start to finish, India could be looking at families being able to go solar in 30 to 40 days.
Wow.
And while that may not seem like much, I can tell you this, in the US even today, in 2024, where 5% American homes have already adopted solar, it still takes 60 to 90 days for a family to go solar. And permits are extremely expensive. They are not online, and they are very, very painful. So I think India is really leading the charge in terms of the IT infrastructure that we are building for homes to go solar. And, if we can, I think there is a future where in India you'll be able to go solar in literally 1 to 2 weeks, start to finish, all the permits, right? The installation itself with our WindPro mount, the modular mounting structures, it just takes 8 hours. So the installation itself just takes 8 hours. But the permits used to take 60 to 90 days 2 years back. So today the installation will take 8 hours, but the permits also take much lesser time. And like I said, I think in India we'll be looking at a 2 to 3 week period for a family to switch to solar, which will be better than any developed country like Germany or US or Australia. And so I think India is really serious about, the solar revolution and making it easy for families to switch to solar.
That is amazing, Shreya. I am so delighted that I got a complete breakdown of this is perhaps the best solar case study I could have done. So I'll just quickly summarize, and if there's anything that you think needs to be added, we can just add to this summarization. The first thing that we understood is that India is a very, very fast growing market for solar. What we understood is that there are 1 lakh homes that are going solar every 60 days, which comes down to 50,000 homes per month. And SolarSquare, which is the top solar installer in the country, is only able to service 1,000 homes, which means there's a huge market opportunity. And when we got deeper into market opportunity, what we also understood is that there is the inverter, there is the panel, and then there is the mount. These are 3 components where the biggest opportunity lies, because 50,000 solars will require 50,000 inverters, 50,000 mounts, and the panels. As far as the value chain of solar is concerned, we've got polysilicon, ingots, wafers, and the panels. Ingots and wafers and polysilicon, all of them, they come from China, and today we're heavily dependent on China, whereby more than 95% of these ingots and wafers come from China. Then we have cells and panels, whereby earlier we used to do only panels in India, but now we have backward integrated to cells. But even now, wafers and ingots is a big problem. As far as inverters are concerned, today there is a very big cost advantage to the Chinese, because their costs are extremely low as compared to Indians. So if somebody can bring down the cost of inverters in India as compared to the Chinese, that will be great. As far as the panels are concerned, I think the cost of panels from what you mentioned for China, which is unsustainable at the moment, is close to 12 to 13 rupees per kilowatt. Per watt. But for India, it turns out to be 22 to 23 rupees. That is expected to come down to 18 to 19 as we achieve scale. And as far as solar installation for a family is concerned, what we've understood is that for a 2 to 3 BHK consuming 500 units per month, a 4 kilowatt solar panel is great. Assuming 8 rupees per unit, that's 4,000 rupees per month in electricity bill. If they're able to install this panel, 8 panels actually, with giving them 4.32 kilowatt, they'll be able to bring down this electricity bill to 0. And the only charge they'll have to pay is the 200 rupees of metering, which is quite insignificant. Then when it comes to India as a country, we have a problem of centralized distribution, which is where our discoms come in. 50 years back, discoms were great, but now discoms themselves have become a problem, because of which we are inefficiently distributing power. We are wasting a lot of power. At the same time, it's also extremely hazardous and unsustainable for the growing per capita power consumption in the country, which is why decentralized power is required. And solar just happens to be decentralized, it happens to be clean, and the costs seem to be dropping down. In India, back then, the break-even time or the payback period was 9 to 10 years, but now it has come down to 3 to 5 years, and it is expected to come down further to just 3 years in the next 4 to 5 years. Then as far as the subsidy for solar panels is concerned, we get about 78,000 rupees in subsidy, and the best part is because of the portal and because of the direct benefit scheme, we are able to get the subsidy in less than 30 days, which makes it extremely lucrative for all the families. So they can jump into solar without actually worrying about the direct benefit scheme. Earlier, it was extremely troublesome. So if somebody listening to somebody who installed solar panel 3 years back, don't worry, because now you'll get the subsidy in less than 30 days. Then we have something called net metering, which makes it very, very interesting, because a lot of families have the skepticism that subah to solar chal jayega, but raat ko kya hoga? But that's where the grid is not going out anywhere. It's just that the grid is there. And while the solar panels can produce electricity during the day, during the night, you can still rely on the grid and get rid of electricity from there. But it's just that because you're producing a lot more power in surplus during the day, and during the night there is deficit, it balances out, because of which your electricity bill still remains zero. And regardless of the weather conditions, if there is monsoon or if you are in a region which is extremely cloudy, you can still depend on the solar panel. And if not, you still have the grid so that you can get consistent power supply. So the skepticism of lack of power does not exist in solar. Absolutely, because you're not getting rid of the grid. And solar is India's oil. It's just that investors recognize it, but customers don't recognize it yet. But if we do together as a country, we will be able to reduce our dependence on oil, because of which the Godfather is extremely bullish on solar. If we end up doing this, then in the next 20 to 30 years, if at all we are able to skyrocket the adoption of solar, India will not have to depend on oil. If India doesn't depend on oil, and it doesn't depend on any other Chinese solar supplier, we will be able to control inflation. The economy will skyrocket, and the hockey stick growth that we're about to experience in the next 5 to 10 years will actually be fueled by solar power, which is where companies like Vari, SolarSquare, and several other companies happen to be beneficiaries. The one thing that I found very interesting is also the opportunity that exists in the solar space with regards to the value chain. You mentioned that OEM, inverters, and installers is where the biggest opportunity lies. OEM is for big guys like Tata, Adani's, and Vari. But when it comes to install and forget, when it comes to inverters, Chinese have occupied a large territory. But when it comes to install and forget, there is a huge opportunity. And here, there are two messages, one for the entrepreneurs and the other for the customers. For the customers, the message is install and forget scheme doesn't exist unless you have somebody as dependable as SolarSquare, and you will have to pay a premium for it. It's not like you can just install a solar panel and forget. You have to rely on somebody who understands solar panels, somebody who's a legitimate brand, and not go for unorganized players, even if they're giving you a 1 lakh rupee discount, because cheap solar panels are costly.
Are expensive.
And the message for the entrepreneurs over there is that there is a huge opportunity in the install and forget segment. If you can help the customers install solar panels and let them forget about it, that will be incredible. And here SolarSquare has this unique proposition of being able to maintain the solar panels for the next 5 years with the power guarantee strategy, which also happens to be a great strategy that other entrepreneurs can pursue, provided the economics make sense. And they will only make sense with scales, which means you will require venture capital. Two messages over here. Entrepreneurs need to raise venture capital. Venture capital, this scheme is extremely sustainable because SolarSquare has already hit 350 crores in just 9 years. So here, if you can help the customers install and forget, you can build a brand, because even today, 49,000 homes are still available as a white space for you to capture. 15 cities that SolarSquare is in is a healthy market opportunity, because you guys have already invested enough into education, which means there is more space. The beauty is it's a blue ocean, because the market is so big that even if we have 10 SolarSquare type companies, it's still enough for everybody to make healthy margins. And because the Godfather likes you, all of us, all of you guys are going to make money. The one thing that I also want to throw light on are the variables that can probably change the costing of your solar panel. The cost that Shreya mentioned is for a specific house, and as your layout, floor, state government charges, technical charges, and maintenance charges keep on varying, these charges might go up and down. The range is 2.9 to 3.1 lakhs without subsidy, and it is 2.1 to 2.3 lakhs with subsidy. Okay, and this is as of 2024. तो अगर तुम 2030 में देख रहे हो और गवर्नमेंट ने सब्सिडी निकाल दिया है तो ये कॉस्ट अप्लाई नहीं करता. As far as solar panels, SolarSquare's marketing strategy is concerned, 35% comes from referrals, which is absolutely incredible. You educate homeowners through webinars. You also have a guide, which I will attach in the description for everybody, so you can download it and have a look at it. Do you guys have a YouTube video with this guide?
Yes.
Okay, I will also attach the YouTube video for you guys with the link in the description. And 55% of your customers come through performance marketing, and you don't have any celebrities yet. So, an opportunity for the celebrities as of now. But thank you so much, Shreya. It's been a pleasure. I just hope this summarizes the entire discussion.
Absolutely, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shreya.
It's
Thank you
great
so
being
much.
here.